Watch him throw the ball, we gon' pick it off. You gon' let him hit the hole or you gon' cut it off. You gon' play through fourth and long or you gon' punt it off. Your defenders, heavy hitters, put your pads in. Don't be looking for the ref to throw no flags in. Keep the helmet on, keep the cleats tight. You the type to want to win by any means, right? You should look alive. This is Trap or Die.
Yes, sir. Football is back, man. Welcome back to another episode of Trap or Die Podcast. I am your host, Mual. AJ's on the way. Dre is on the way. Look at them, man. Late. Why they late, bro? On the show today, we have a guest that's going to check in. Candi Walls, president of BowieTV Sports. We're going to chop it up with Candi. She's been on the show. It's been a long time though. But we're welcoming her back. Just to chop it up, see what she got on her thoughts with training camp, her observations, things like that. It's good to have some boots on the ground as we cover the mob. Amani, what's going on with you? Appreciate you checking in. Let's get the administrative items out of the way while we're waiting. If you are new to the Trap or Die podcast and you just checking it out, man, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. We definitely appreciate that. If you are on the audio side, make sure you hit that follow button. If you got time, man, hit us with a rating review. We definitely appreciate that, man. And it's free to do so. It don't cost you a thing to show you a little support on that iPhone or that Android, whichever your preference is. Let's go ahead and get AJ in this thing. AJ, how you feeling, man? You still licking your wounds from them beat downs, bro?
Hey, man, shut the hell up.
Hey, man.
Nah, man, college football is an interesting game, bro. Like,
hey, bro.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. But, doing my thing. You got the better of me over the weekend. But, after I took that last L, I decided to spend some time and create my own playbook. So I'm good.
Okay. All right. How many plays do you got? So I'm not creating a playbook. I actually fell in love with one recently, like the last couple of days. Out of all teams, I like what SMU brings to the table.
Okay.
But how many plays or formations do you got in that zone? I seen somebody who had like 500, he had 500 plays, not 500 formations.
Yeah. So pretty much, it lets you create from a base of a team's playbook. So I think I started off with like 384 in the base, and I'm up to the max. I'm at 500. I think I got like 50 formations. Yeah, I got everything in my playbook. I can't wait to play your ass again so I can use that shit. Because the only way you can use it for real is when you playing a friend. And in my dynasty games, the people that I'm in 2 leagues, but I haven't. None of my opponents have showed up to play yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I would invite you, but they don't have the crossover for the.
That's why. That's what I remembered. I was like, dang, because I ain't in no leagues yet.
Yeah, that should
I've
get
been
passed
chilling
up,
on
but I
that.
haven't played any games for real. But yeah, I mean, you was doing your little drag routes and breaking mad tackles like that. That joke was frustrating.
Don't even.
You almost made me break. You almost made me break my Sony TV, dog. Because I was like, bruh, I see everything that's going on, and I'm reading it, but I cannot make a play on it at all. Like,
hey, bro, I was dotting them up, bro. Hey, Dre, all I got is
that
one
game.
thing to say. Hey, what I say? I just want to put this on the record, and we got our guest wait, so we're gonna bring our guests in, right? I got put one thing on the record because Dre said he watched that one game from start to finish. That he was driving, right? And I said to the TV, I said, bruh, I know what he's doing, bro. He keep hitting to them flats. I'm about to get a turnover this drive.
I ran the same play like 8 times.
He was in the red. But look, no. All right, if it was on purpose, you were losing at the point. So I said, what I said, Dre, I said, we need to. You're lying. You're down.
But I was surprised AJ let you back in it though. Because I
was down 14.
I thought AJ had you in that game.
I was down 14 and I came back. So what you mean you ain't care? I was down 14, came back, got the lead. I said, all right, bro, we're gonna switch it up. We about to get a pick this drive. What I do, Drake? Pick 6 that motherfucker.
Oh,
you celebrated like a motherfucker too.
I said in my mind, I don't even care because I already could tell how the game.
Yeah, that was ball game.
And then on top of that, with how that home field advantage crap really works in this game.
No, you know what? Hey, let me just say though. No, let me say AJ funny as shit because whenever he lose, it's like something categorically wrong with the game. Like, I'm about to go take this controller back.
He got good games. He got good games.
Bro, you can see my man truck in the air, dog. Like, I'm not lying. Like, my man is trucking the air, butt naked air, just going. Like,
hey, Dre, he lost 5 straight, bro. And he had this 5 straight games. He had an excuse, bro. I ain't trying to do that.
But let's not act like I ain't winning some games against you. Like I've definitely lost.
You won some games.
I definitely lost over the weekend. Dre, on the other hand, the last time he quit.
It was 2:00 in the morning. I was tired.
Nah, Dre was dozing off with the stick in his head, bro. All right,
it's a good game, man. I'm definitely having fun playing against.
I love the game, bro.
You know, Mual can play. Dre can play. Dre play a certain way. Mual, he won't get out of a damn defensive formation to save his life. Like, but I got a new playbook, so we good.
All right, man. Hey, get into it.
We gonna run it.
Like I mentioned. Yeah, I'm here for it, man. Hey, anybody that wants smoke, man. Hey, Henny Mual, bro. Henny Mual on the EAID. Hey Slick on the Xbox, bro. Add me. We're gonna get into our Commanders recap. That's what we here for. Commanders talk. Appreciate everybody that's checking in live. Somebody went for Vanderbilt. Oh well, God. I mean, he got 97 speed.
Vanderbilt got a quarterback that's a 95 speed. Lord.
Yeah, he a dog. But Candy Walls is checking in. Like I said, Candy Walls, BowieTV Sports. She's going to join us right now as we talk all things Commanders. Candy, how you doing? Appreciate you checking in.
I'm doing very well. How you all doing?
We doing great.
We good. Outside of the arguing, you heard for like the past 2 minutes about some video games. Just me just whooping ass. That's all that is. You ain't got to worry about too much. But we got you in just obviously. You've been boots on the ground with Ashburn and the Commanders over the past, I think, what's today? Tuesday, so it'd be a week tomorrow. Let's kind of go macro to start things off. What have been like some of your high level, like these are the things that stands out to me with training camp and this new coaching staff?
I think that at a very macro level, what has stood out to me in training camp is one of the things that you all have probably heard now. Overall, a theme is just competition. There's, as Terry McLaurin shared in his press conference, there's no favoritism. Everybody is competing for a spot, right? And they're giving equal opportunity, equal attention to every single player that is currently on the roster. And so that shines through. I think the level of intensity that I'm seeing even in position drills is definitely a different vibe than in previous years. Not that it was a slow ramp up per se, but you're definitely seeing intensity from everyone, from the coordinator to the position coach to the players themselves. And of course, head coach Dan Quinn. It is lively in terms of just not bickering lively, right? It's just overall intense.
Energetic.
Yeah, players want to get it right. They're being held accountable. They want to learn from their mistakes. They've had officials, not necessarily NFL officials in many of the instances, but they have officials there. So if a flag gets thrown, if a whistle is blown, they are learning in real time mistakes and how to correct them. And that is for everybody, all parties involved. So overall, the vibe is quite different than I've seen it in the last 7 years since I've been on the ground. So it's for sure a collective effort. They have to ramp up quickly, right? It's basically a new team, new organization, and they have to ramp up quickly in order to, be on the same page week one. It's a large undertaking to try to come together and bring a team together to result in wins in the end. And so I believe that the team is doing all that they can to hit the ground running for certain come week one.
Well, Candi, let me ask you real quick. Of course, we got to start off with the man, Jaden Daniels. That's the topic of the summer. With, a lot of what I'm hearing, I'm reading, a lot of things, listening to a lot of the Beat Reporters podcast. And what I'm gathering from Jaden Daniels as, would it be fair to say he hasn't really had a bad day yet? Maybe like he's had a day where, okay, it's not his best day, maybe he was average. But would you say he's had a bad day yet of training camp? And I'm asking this because it's normal for rookie quarterbacks to have a bad day. We've seen it throughout the league. Caleb Williams, Drake May, they're all having like their struggles. They'll have their good days as well. But with Jaden Daniels, we're kind of hearing that, man, it's either he's having, a decent day or he's having a good day. We just haven't heard the bad day. Can you elaborate on that?
I mean, that's absolutely right. I don't think he's had a bad day. I don't think the team has had necessarily a bad day. There may have been a bad play, right? Or there might have been a bad series, but a bad day, no, that hasn't transpired yet. The energy is there. Yes, Jaden is something that we've all been talking about, but he has a humble confidence that even when he had a good play or a bad play, he's asking questions. He wants to know how to repeat the good play. He wants to know how to not repeat the bad play. And he's reacting in real time, but he's consistently asking questions to his teammates. You see him often in dialogue with his coordinator and position coaches. So it's what we're saying is true, right? And it's not to overblow it because they've only had 1 day in pads, right? But I mean, he's doing all the things that you would want your rookie QB that you anticipate being QB1. He's doing everything you would want him to do.
Yeah, Candi, definitely want to say appreciate you joining us here this evening. My question that I kind of want to touch on is two of the most important groups that need improvement going into this year, as far as the defensive line and the secondary. They got positional coaches such as the William Gay with the defensive backs, and with the defensive line, you have Daryl Tapp. While you've been at practice, what have you seen that the fans, I mean, I personally know those two guys, so I know what they bring to the table, but just to give the fans and our audience a glimpse of how they've been coaching those guys and how the players have been adapting to their personalities and the teachings, and how that might, transcend into the season for better communication and such.
So one of the things that is across the board is that the coaches are intentionally trying to hone in on where the player is best. They're honing in on those unique skill sets. They're not asking these guys to do anything that they aren't already good at. right? They're honing in on their athletic intellectual capital. They want them to continue to be the best at what they are doing. And that is what these position coaches are doing in practice. You see it. They're not trying to make someone do something that they weren't doing before, right? They whatever got them into the league, you can tell they're continuing to hone that skill set and not trying to make them somebody they're not, or make them a player that they're not. Each and every single position coach is bringing the intensity. Now, I'm going to jump to Coach Tap. That's forever intense. I've said this a few times on my show that when I'm over there with the D-line, I'm like, woo. When I'm wearing my pearls, I'm clutching them. When I'm wearing my necklace, I'm like, good grief, I come over here in this corner. It's a little hot over here. You know, it's already hot outside, but the heat is really intense over there.
The heat?
Yes. Like, he's got a lot of smoke coming up on Coach Tap, for real, because, I mean, that is the level of intensity he brings, and his players respond accordingly. Every single last one. And that's the same thing with Coach Gay. I mean, they are really trying to ensure they're getting the best out of their players, and they're encouraging that. They're encouraging them just to do what got them in the league in the first place and get better at that thing versus trying to say, you know what, you would be really good at doing it this way. No, they want them to be great at what they've been great at. So I'm truly, especially over there with the defensive line, I spent a lot more time over there. It's funny you asked about the defensive backs, because today was actually the first day I spent a good bulk of my time over there in that corner of the field doing position drills, just to see the difference. And, you know, from year to year and what they're doing, everybody seems locked in. Everybody is attentive. Everyone's paying attention. Again, they want to get the little things right now. And it shows.
So while we're on Daryl Tapp and that defensive line, Al too in our chat asked kind of a broader question, but he mentioned Jamon Davis. And I know Jamon Davis is getting a ton of reps as an edge rusher in practice at this point. I guess it's a two-parter, but it all revolves around Jamon. One, what have been any and all of your observations surrounding his, at this point, his transition to an edge rusher? But secondly, given the state of the roster and given the state of like where he's come from a actual stand-up linebacker, outside linebacker, middle linebacker, now to edge rusher with this new coaching staff, where do you think he is at in terms of the favor within the coaching staff?
I think that because Jamon appears to be more comfortable in that edge rushing role, if you will, or kind of show that versatility there, I think they are more comfortable. I don't think there's like a thumbs down or anything on Jamon. Not right now. I do not get that sense right now. One of the words that you all will probably continue to hear, maybe not so much from the coaching staff, from the players, because Jamon was saying it in his presser during OTAs. Duran said it yesterday in his press conference, is hunt. If Jamon Davis is his coaching staff is telling him to go hunt, and they're putting him in, trying to put him in the best position to go and do that, and he's doing it well. Now, I don't know what that means, right, in terms of the comparison to the roster spots, right? Because the defensive line is starting to coalesce in jail quite nicely, and Dan Quinn specifically mentioned that today in his press conference this morning. So we'll see how it plays out, but I do think they are putting Jamon in the best position that he can be in order to succeed. Again, going back to the point of that was what he was good at in college. That was what he was best at doing. Jamon, go and get the football. Go and get to the quarterback, get to the football. And that's what they have him doing. He's spending probably a balance of his time with the linebackers and the defensive line. But as you already just mentioned, he spent a bulk of his time today over there with the defensive line. He spends a lot of time with Coach Kerrigan. So we'll see how it pans out. Could it be a high-profile cut? Well, yes, there could be, right? It remains to be seen who that may be. But because they have set a tone of competition and there's no favoritism and everybody has to earn their spot, we already know there's probably going to be a high profile cut. It remains to be seen.
Candi, real quick, do you believe that Jamon has bought into solely being a defensive end?
Absolutely. I think so. I think he knows that's his
or is he being forced to in order to save his NFL livelihood?
I don't think he's being forced to. That's a great question. I don't think he's being forced to. I think he wants to be in the best position to succeed to save his NFL career in Washington, at least, right? This is a big year for J-Man. So I think that he already has been vocal about being pleased in this role, so to speak. He looks happier. He looks like he's prepared for it. He just looks like he can get it done as well. So I think that alone, hopefully, his morale and his motivation aligned with his natural born skill set. I'm hoping for him that it aligns so that he is effective in that role. I don't think Commanders fans, media, the general public, or anybody has seen Jamon truly be utilized and where he's most effective. So I think this is an opportunity for him to be that and do that. Whether or not that shakes out from a roster perspective, again, I don't know. But I don't think it's a force. I think he's truly happy with being able to hunt, as he said it himself, and just get to the quarterback.
Candi, I want to switch gears a little bit and ask about a guy I'm a big fan of, and that's Johan Dotson. I mean, obviously, he didn't have the sophomore year that he wanted to have, and none of us thought he would have. But what have you kind of seen from him this training camp? Have you seen a rejuvenated Johan Dotson, a more motivated Johan Dotson, or anything that's leading you to believe that he's going to have this breakout season that we all believe he can have?
Absolutely. I think Johan, I'm talking about Jaden all the time. Johan got a raw deal last year. I really think that, right? I really think that based on his rookie season, as you just said, definitely was not utilized in his best skill set either. If you go back to his press conference at the end of last season, he said that, if it's been two people that's been very vocal about how things went on offense, it was Sam Cosmi and Johan Dotson. Mm-hmm. And so he is absolutely being prepped and primed again to be used to do what he did and continue on going from his rookie season. I think he's ready to go. I think he's definitely motivated, and he is confident, and he feels that his coaches support him, and he's confident in just getting back to it and being where he's most effective, and that's at route running. So we'll see. Of course, that's with everybody, right? But he's happy. And you can tell that just that overall energy of the morale and being happy is helping them to perform better in practice.
I think there is one thing with Johan that I did appreciate, and I've appreciated, July? I've appreciated this entire offseason leading up into training camp as well, is like the awareness and self-accountability. Like I remember speaking on this a couple of days ago where, Johan had a quote this offseason where he mentioned despite everything that went on last year, he mentioned the team had issues with Eric Bieniemy in his offense last year. But through the midst of all that, Johan has always said, I got to be better. And I wasn't proud or happy with the production that I put out there. It was always about him and how he can make himself better. And I appreciate that from Johan in all aspects. The other part of this, as I transition, just from a general passing game standpoint, I was thinking about the protection up front. And I think about, obviously, the offensive line and, how they got the quarterback in trouble. Sometimes they even got the receivers in trouble because they couldn't even get into their routes. But you have a left tackle competition right now. And indirectly, you have a right tackle competition as well. Because Andrew Wiley has been in and out of the lineup because of injury, coaches say. But that allows Brandon Coleman to play at left and right tackle with the ones. We know what Cornelius Lucas can do at left and right tackle, but Brandon Coleman is the wild card here. What do you think about this offensive tackle situation? How is it shaping up in your opinion?
I think it is still one of the things where you can tell based on how they're mixing things up in practice that they don't know. And they're still trying to, again, give everyone a fair shake from the previous roster that they decided to keep. and also really buy into the people that they brought in, because the people that they brought in and drafted, those are their guys. That's this coaching staff. This is that's their people. And so they want everyone to be their people, right? But everybody can't be. That's just by default. So I really think there's definitely still some huge question marks at the offensive tackle position. I think probably by the time we get into joint practice with the Jets and the first preseason game, that's going to tell the story. That is going to tell the story for sure. You got to all remember, first day in pads was yesterday, and they did not wear pads today. So there's still a lot to be seen and really know what's going to happen there. But it is obvious there are questions at that position, and they're trying to figure out what's the best tandem and the best mix going in. Another thing too that this coaching staff is doing, and they could be doing it just because we're there, right? It's, you can't really get too tied to who's going with the first, the ones, the twos, and the threes, because they're mixing everybody up, right? And so that's some of the things that we don't tweet, we don't say, because it's like, well, oh, mixing it up again. So you really don't know, but it is obvious at the offensive tackle position, they really don't know. Another thing that I think is important to mention is that when you have somebody like an Adam Peters as a general manager, they're going to keep digging until they get it right. So if they feel like they don't have the right mix of a player at a position, they will make a change. So day 6, we'll see what happens. But I think joint practice in the first preseason game, definitely the second, you'll know for sure who's outperforming who.
Yeah, so Candi, I will say, of course, they probably called me a hater on here, but 2 of my least favorite picks from, Adam Peters, debuted as the general manager for the Washington Commanders was Ben Sinnott and Luke McCaffrey. How have they been looking in training camp to you? I've heard some things privately about Ben in particular, how he's been looking, but I haven't really heard too much about Luke. But just curious to see what your opinion is as you've been there since training camp opened last week.
Yeah. So, and just because they correct us on it all the time, it's been Senate. And
Senate?
So, yeah,
okay.
It's Senate. So he's got a bit to go. He definitely has a bit to go.
What does that mean exactly?
That's what I want to know.
Well, Candi, the reason why we asked that is because we've had Jordan Reed of ESPN, who I guess they call a draft guru or whatever. He came on here unsolicited and went to bat so hard for Ben. How do we say his name again?
Ben Sinnott.
Like senator.
Yeah, he went so hard for him, but it's like I've watched the tape and everything that he spoke about, I personally don't see him as a tight end. I see him as a fullback, like an H-back. I see him like a Kyle Juszczyk in a sense. Not that he's going to be as good as him, but that's his uses that I primarily see within this offense. So that's why I asked that particular question.
But that was Peter's vision for him, AJ. He said
I don't know what his vision was.
Yeah, that's what he said.
I think that's what it was. I don't disagree with him in that aspect. But the skill set, like there was some people I had in front of him. But Candi, you got the floor. We got our thoughts on Ben. I wish we didn't taint any of this conversation.
No,
but you got the floor. Okay,
yeah, cool. He has a way to go. He has a ways to go. I mean, he looks like a rookie. You're right, and I wasn't necessarily all that impressed once the pads came on. Now, to be fair, one of the things that Bobby Wagner said in his press conference yesterday was, hey, this is the first day in pads. You got to kind of take it, it's a lot of these guys haven't had pads on since last year, right? But I'm like, ooh, right? Especially when you have, Coach Quinn giving kudos to John Bates this morning and others. I mean, he's going to be on the team because he was drafted, but there's definitely some more work to do there. I mean, is he someone that you notice in practice or see or be like, wow, that was really sweet by Ben? No. So yeah, I think there's high hopes for him to be that, but have I seen it? No, I have not.
Okay, no, Candi, and I wanted you to kind of follow up on that in that sense when it comes to Ben Sinnott. Is it, I mean, I know you're saying you're not really noticing anything, but is it anything bad that you're noticing about him more than anything that you kind of hesitate to say, or that you're saying that he has a long way to go? Like, is it the negatives? Are negatives standing out with Ben Sinnott?
Yeah, it's not negative. It's just, and I see the comments in the chat. I see where it says give the man time. He's not, when you got Zach Ertz there, you already know he's going to be well above any curves, anybody there, right? And so he looks like a rookie. He looks like, you know what I mean? It's like, whoa, okay. He's going to need, and that's one of the things that you're going to have to, I don't see any negatives. Do I see you want to put him in the game week 1? Absolutely not.
You don't see second round player.
No.
That's all.
Yeah.
That's all. And don't pay attention to that commenter over there. He's just I like look, I'm reading all the comments because that's what I do on my show. So I read all the comments. I'm able to keep up with them for the most part. So I want to make sure I acknowledge those, and I do see them. And so that's why I'm like, but I'll try to keep it as objective as possible, but I'm going to answer you all's questions truthfully. You know what I mean? I'm going to answer the questions truthfully based on being at practice and having been around with the organization now for a few years. So it's.
But Jay Tyler has a point, though, in that we do have to give him time. And this is something that I heard earlier with Johan Dotson, and that he mentioned that the offense, when they first start putting on pads, it's a little bit tougher for them, and they have a little bit more of an adjustment than the defense. And that goes for everybody on the offense, just because they're doing more install work in the first couple of days. And I did hear that the offense had a good day today, and maybe that's them getting the rhythm. So maybe we will see Ben Sinnott, start to make a little bit more plays and be a little bit more noticeable. But the good thing is, at least there's no negatives. Who knows what they have planned for him and how he's going to be used this year. But Jay Tyler got a point. We give him a little bit of time.
You got to give him a little bit of time. But yes, the offense ended up having a good day. It did not start out good for the offense. Okay. That's another reason why I'm like, okay, you need somebody that's there for the whole practice every day, all during the season, and been there for a few years now. Jamal knows this because he knows I've been there for quite some time. And the first part of practice wasn't good, right? But that wasn't on the quarterback. I want to be clear about that. There was some drops. There was some fumbles, right? Cliff Kingsbury had to get his offense in check. And it ended up strong, but it did not start off strong at all.
So I appreciate your time, Candi. I got one question on my side. When I was at practice Sunday, and while I was only able to attend one practice, something stood out to me then, and then it was reaffirmed after today's practice when I heard a story of a play that Sainristil made, with his effort. There was so obviously, he's their projected starting slot cornerback, and that's kind of where they plan to use him. But it wasn't even the fact that, it wasn't his coverage that was really standing out to me. It wasn't like his run defense and how he played edges and defended the edge or anything to that nature, or even played the run. It wasn't none of that stood out to me. It was his effort after every single play that stood out to me, to the point in which I wrote it and typed it up on Hogs Haven. It was like a 2-sentence statement on Sainristil. Nothing about his coverage. Today, I heard a story about how after on a run, he chased down Brian Robinson. I don't know how many yards it was. I think it was at least 20. He chased him down and he forced a fumble. The effort is what stands out with Sainristil, and it was to the point where I don't recall an effort like that from a player that I've heard or actually visually seen from Sunday, ever seen that from an individual. What do you think about Sainristil so far within his first week of practice, or first week of practices at training camp?
Exactly what you said. That story, what happened today, is exactly, it tells the story of who this kid is, right? So that was one of the plays that I mentioned. Like, the offense had a rough start because B-Rob got out. The play wasn't finished. He slowed up. He got relaxed with the football. Mikey ran him down and forced the fumble. Play went over, right? But then I had to think to myself, now, okay, and B-Rob is doing phenomenal. Let me be clear. But I also was like, was that a symptom of past years? Right?
Yeah.
That right there, I felt like that's a symptom of past years. It's a different ball game. You got youngest that came in here that have excelled at their position group, right? They're all leaders for the most part, right? The majority of them, captains on their collegiate teams. The play isn't over till the whistle is blown, and the whistle had not blown. And that's exactly what he did. Always looking to make a play. Always trying to do whatever to make sure his team wins, his team excels, his team succeeds. That story alone is exactly what describes what he's been bringing to camp so far, what he brought the rookie camp, what he brought the OTAs, what I believe he's going to bring to this team. You got to keep your eyes open on that one. Don't let up, because he's going to run you down and he's going to make a play. And that's what he did on B-Rob today. It was a beautiful offensive play that got ruined simply because you let up. No whistle's been blown, and the defense made him pay for it.
That's a great perspective on it, because I think, if B-Rob was coming out of Alabama this year, he probably would have finished the play all the way, just because of how he was coached under Saban. Whereas Mike Sainristil is coming from Harbaugh, and he's still trying to adapt to being an NFL player, and he knows that the play isn't done. But like you said, prior coaching regime, they didn't necessarily have to put in that full effort in practice. That's why they looked the way that they did during the years of that tenure, and they were able to draft a quarterback number 2 overall. Lack of effort.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, B-Rob's doing phenomenal. But that was a lesson learned. And I literally said it to Donna Hopkins. She was standing next to me. We were standing there talking. I said, why B-Rob slowing up? The play not over. I said, Mikey gonna run him down. He don't even feel him. Mikey, there you go. See? Dang. That's exactly what I said.
Hey, Candi, can I ask one last question before we get out of here? And I just want to kind of ask a question about Dan Quinn and how he runs practices, because where Ron Rivera, we had the running joke going that Ron was just kind of laid back, arms folded, didn't do too much. Maybe every now and then, especially at a training camp, he might have got out of line with the guys. But is Dan Quinn kind of lighting fires under guys during these practices, or is he kind of off to the side chilling? Like, what's his vibe and energy like during these training camp practices?
He's definitely in the mix. I haven't seen him fire off yet. But I will tell you a story. At the end of OTAs, the last day of OTAs, Dan Quinn was firing off. He was going for it, And it's not like in a negative way. He wasn't like yelling at it. It wasn't, but he was wanting guys to finish plays and finish reps. And he would be calling out players like in a way of like, you're supposed to finish that play. Accountability. Right? I mean, he's not cussing at these guys. It's building accountability and wanting them to speed up. He's in the trenches with these guys. That was one of the first things I noticed about him during rookie camp. I had to look again. I was like, is that Dan Quinn posted up on the scrimmage line? Is this what we do? Oh, is this the kind of coach Dan Quinn is? Yes, that is the kind of coach that Dan Quinn is. And I had to admit it on the show the other day. I said, I was not pleased with that hire, but I tell you what, Dan Quinn is, I don't know if you all listen to any of his press conferences, but he answers as transparent as he possibly can, right? And I just love today, he just came out with, here's the players that stood out yesterday. I see a question in the chat about Dyami Brown when I asked Coach Quinn today about how the wide receivers.
Oh yeah, that was you. Yep.
That was me that asked about the wide receivers, because I'm paying attention to all the groups, right? But there was nothing that was really popping off for me. I'm like, let's see what's really going on here. Wanted to get his take, and who did he mention? Dyami Brown. Of someone when the pads came on and throughout training camp who has really stood out to him, what he's really liking from Dyami, which is a positive thing. And I actually had a side conversation with Dan Quinn about the pledge that Terry McLaurin mentioned, and I gave a bit more feedback about that on my show because Dan Quinn told me about it. It's called the Commander Standard. Now, they didn't go into detail about it, but he was very clear that this pledge called the Commander Standard is an activity that they did when the Navy SEALs were here that week. And there's some pictures in one of the Commander's log series. It's only a short snippet about it in that series. But the players did not know that they were going to go into that session for that time period. It was about team building. It was about building trust, building accountability. And Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz, and a few others led the team in actually writing an actual document of what they're going to bring to this team and on and off that field every single day. And you know what I told Dan Quinn? I said, I knew it was something different. I knew it was something different. You got real leaders in the building. These are people who have actually taken leadership training, not just held a leadership position. There's a difference. And you see that in every single last one of them. So have me back on the show after the first preseason game. I'm probably not going to be as positive. I'm playing, but I hope that I'm much more positive. But I do hope that they lose every preseason game because whenever they win, the season goes horribly.
we go crazy optimistic. AJ, you got any last thoughts, comments, questions?
No, I just think great perspective from Candi. As there's a lot of reporters, especially locally, that are covering the team. Everyone has different perspectives and different eyes. Some people are saying good things, some people are saying negative things, but vice versa. So I definitely appreciate you coming on here, and I hope that we can bring you on, especially after those joint practices in New York with the Jets and also Miami. I think those are going to be vital for indicators how the season's going to go. Honestly, we've heard a lot about the competition within, the team itself, and also the communication and the brotherhood that's being created with having guys not necessarily being paired up by position groups, as it's typically ran in a lot of NFL organizations. But the great teams that we're seeing succeed, such as the Chiefs, the Ravens, the 49ers, they do things the way that Dan Quinn is doing things, with creating that atmosphere and that camaraderie. So, yeah, I'm just looking forward to, hearing your perspective once we get into those joint practices, because I think that's what's really going to set the tone for what we can expect out of this Dan Quinn regime year one.
Yeah, they've only had pads on one day. They haven't done a series of one-on-ones yet. That's still to be seen. So I'll be like, oh, okay. Well, never mind. Okay, now I have to tell everybody bad news. But no, seriously, so far so good, and they're building the right foundation. So that alone feels a lot better about the team.
Candi, for those that's just tapping in, or everybody who's been here and you gain some new fans, let the people know where they can find you. Let the people know what you got going on. You mentioned your show. Plug anything and everything that you got.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you all for having me on. I really appreciate it. You all can find me on X at Seawall SE. And you can find all of the shows and content on Bowie_TV on YouTube. I do a show that's called the Washington Commanders Update. I do exclusive insights from training camp. I do it all, you can go back and see all of it. You'll see all of it. It's from the Culture from the Couch series, which you'll see Washington Commanders exclusive insights from training camp. So I will definitely continue to be updating you all as much as possible, for sure, because I'm there all the time. And it is a new regime now, so we can't. I think that some things could be considered competitive advantage. I also want to be very transparent about that, and I've said that on my show where things get shared and they're like, y'all talk too much in DC. So, we also have to, be real about that. How you spell BowieTV? BOWIE_TV.
He's Canadian, so that's Al too. He just reminded me that he's Canadian.
I was wondering how the hell did he get BowieTV in the Bowie?
Yeah, I remember now. I was like, oh, that's right there. He's not too
familiar with Maryland. That's all that is.
I was like, God damn.
Too. But yeah, Candi, we definitely appreciate you.
Yeah,
We're gonna have you back on after one of those joint practices, or maybe after a couple preseason games. We'll tap back in with you. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I'll message you and be like, "Do you want the good news or the bad news? Which one you want?"
We want both.
We want it all. Oh, give it to us raw, baby.
The whole scoop.
All right, but thank you guys so much. All right,
Absolutely.
y'all. Bye.
All right, there is Candi Waller.
That boy said BOOEY.
Oh, my
said,
L2
what
British.
the hell is going on?
British.
Hey, I appreciate the confidence even writing that shit.
Yeah,
I wouldn't even wrote it.
Yeah, that's hilarious, bro. That's hilarious. And I'm like, I live in Bowie now, so I'm like, bro.
Now we gotta give my man L2 some British slang in it.
Oh yeah, end it. What's ain't Uncle another junk, bro? Something like that, like for OG or something like that.
I gotta turn top boy before I talk to L2.
Bruv.
Yeah, bruv.
Bruv.
Safe, bruv. In it.
What you called it? He said y'all too Southern for me.
Everybody say that about us. They say we Southern. I don't think we Southern, but anybody from not here, they say we Southern.
L2, what part of Canada are you from?
Hey, he said he could.
He said British.
British.
He from.
He said he could barely understand.
I thought he was from Canada. Bro. My bad. I think my mind started thinking about chicks that I know in Canada.
Yeah, I was gonna ask a question about that part with about the what you call the fine joints out in London. But we're gonna let L2 get to us when he can, man. Anyway, that was Candi. Make sure you follow her. If you aren't, make sure you tap into what she got going on. We'll have her back on for sure. Let's close out with some of our thoughts related to the team. She shared a lot over the past few days since we've been on. There's been a lot of conversations. DJ Moore got an extension 23 minutes ago. That's what's up.
What 4 years? What was the numbers?
4 years, 110 mil, 82 guaranteed.
He need to send Ron Rivera a goddamn thank you message. Rivera probably gave him that extension alone.
Yeah, that game, he went crazy that game, bro. Yeah, made Justin Fields look like a goddamn Aaron Rodgers. All right, we got a couple minutes, so let's go ahead and tap into some things. Quick, first thing first, Johnny Newton update. He was able to participate over the last 2 days. I think today was his full participation in team drills, team activities. He spoke today too. And there were some things that he mentioned related specifically with his knee, his foot, I believe. I'm sorry. What did he say? He said that he never felt anything in his left foot when the injury was diagnosed. Obviously, I think his first injury was on his right foot. Same injury, the Jones fracture. But he never felt anything. But when he got an X-ray on both feet to gauge the recovery of his right foot, they found out what was going on in his left. Basically, he feels good day by day as he recovers. He had increased work today. He is still not full team, so I was wrong on that. Not full team yet, but he's increasing his work day to day. So it's good to know that he's back on the field. Y'all got any quick thoughts on Johnny, or we can keep pushing?
I'm just excited to see him go, man. I mean, I know as Dan Quinn mentioned, he's getting more team activity now versus the individual stuff. I mean, you want to see what that guy brings to that interior. I mean, because I do feel like he's not only going to be on the interior, he's going to be a guy that they can move around anywhere on that defensive line. But the motor, that's what I'm looking for. That's what showed up on tape when I watched him at Illinois, was that relentless motor, getting after the guy. I mean, the guy's a beast, man. Just adding him to what you already have with Payne and Allen, I'm excited to see him go.
Yeah, I would just touch on, I'm excited to see him in the joint practices. Hopefully he gets to participate. I love his get off. Like, that's the main thing I love about John Newton is his get off. Like, you don't really see guys his size get off the ball as fast and that active. So I'm interested to see how that's going to look when he goes against the Dolphins, when he goes against the Jets in joint practices, and also hopefully get some preseason bump.
Next up, we have resurface the wide receiver conversation for a quick second. De'Ami Brown, Candi mentioned it. Unprompted praise from Dan Quinn. But he stood out obviously in Quinn's eyes. So the back room, just when I was there, Mitch Tinsley, last year, obviously undrafted free agent out of Penn State. He was making some headways with the plays that he was creating, and at the catch point, he wasn't creating much separation, but he was making a lot of tough contested catches. Excuse me, he made a couple tough contested catches. I don't want to say a lot of, but he stood out in a couple of practices, even outside of the one that I attended. But De'Ami Brown has stood out to Dan Quinn. Zacchaeus has made a few plays as well throughout camp. But overall, that back end of that receiving depth chart, it's still going to be interesting. I think overall what's unfortunate is knowing that it's still a top heavy position group. You don't get that much help throughout the roster. But do we have any conversation, comments on the development of that battle?
I would say I'm not even focused on the battle at this rate. I think that they need to go ahead and do what they need to do. And I'm gonna make a bold prediction. Next time we do this show, Brandon Ayuk will be a Washington Commander.
Is Maul, AJ, is that a prediction just off of what you hope is going to happen, or do you feel like you're hearing something that you think is going to happen?
It's not a hope. It's not a hope. I don't see things changing over there. Then you also add in the fact that Trent is holding out as well. I just think that he's going to get traded to Washington. If it's not Washington, it's going to be somewhere. And the hope element would be that it is with Washington, but I believe that he will get traded by next week when we do another episode. I just don't believe in this wide receiver room outside of Terry McLaurin. And I think when you hear guys like a Mitchell Tinsley being raved about, I think even Dan Quinn giving down. I didn't listen to the presser today, but I feel like De'Ami Brown getting recognition is to give him a boost of confidence that he possibly needs, in order to continue. Huh?
Let it go, Frozen.
Real, like it is real, because I still got to go break down the numbers of this DJ Moore deal that happened while we were on here, but that also affects Terry McLaurin as well.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Crowder too. Yeah, like
it affects everything as far as that wide receiver conversation. But yeah, that's just my prediction as far as what I believe. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, hey, Mel Kiper's wrong all the damn time. So just put me in his category.
Let's bet a burrito bowl on it, bro, from Chipotle.
A burrito bowl.
Yeah, let's bet a burrito bowl on that.
That's a random ass bet. A burrito bowl.
Maul wants some Chipotle right now, and that's on his mind.
Nah, I thought like $12.50. I thought $12.50 was
burrito bowl.
I haven't. Yeah, I thought $12.50 was a decent bet, bro. You know what I'm saying? It's harmless. Hey, I think it's a lunch bet. You know what I'm saying?
You do burrito bowl. I'll do Wingstop. A 10-piece combo.
See, ain't nothing wrong with that.
Lemon pepper, huh? I need some.
All right, let's do it. I'm in it, man. So all right, bet we got a burrito bowl on the line, and you got a 10-piece lemon pepper on the line. There you go.
Lemon pepper.
For me, I would just elaborate a little bit.
Hey, nah, Jay, I am hungry though, bro. I'm about to crush my dinner after this, bro. I swear to God.
But no, I was just gonna say, man. As far as my opinions on the back end, I mean that's great news for De'Ami. I actually kind of sent that out to you all this morning because I was watching the presser, and Dan was giving out some unprompted or unsolicited, as Candi mentioned, and I noticed it earlier. He was giving out praise to a lot of guys unsolicited, and one of those guys, of course, was Dyami Brown, and I think that's a really good sign for Dyami Brown, who we actually just talked about on last week's show when we had the conversations with the true or false and guys that are going to get cut. I think Dyami and Jamon's names were the names that was coming up as do they survive. So that's a great news for Dyami that he's being noticed by the coaching staff kind of unprompted in a sense for that back end spot. Because I mean, looking at the depth chart and looking at the roster, I'm kind of seeing, I mean, if you're keeping 6 guys, I think there's one spot open right now. So Dyami, you know, I think he's in that mix or in that battle for that last spot. So to hear his name unprompted, I mean, that's good for him. You know, I know I've seen some comments that say, you know, he's kind of used to being good in training camp. I don't know how true that is. I mean, I do know that he's been pretty good at the one thing he's always been good at, and that's a good go route if he has a little bit of separation. But to see him making an impression on a new coaching staff and not just Ron Rivera and his guys, I mean, that's a little bit encouraging, but you do want to see it to believe it. I mean, we are no one here is going to believe that Dyami Brown is going to go out and light anything on fire until they actually see Dyami Brown go out there and light something on fire. But it's good to know that he's impressing the coaches, and hopefully that does carry over to when the games actually start.
Why is Jay Tyler so positive about every player? Like, what's going on? Hey, man, let's move past the Dyami Brown conversation, bro.
Starting secondary. When I was there, it was Forbes, Benjamin St. Juste, Jeremy Chin, and Quan Martin. What's been consistent since I've noticed has been those 4 in terms of like the starting reps initially. So I think just like Brandon Coleman, just like Brandon, I'd say he's been consistent reps as a starter, whether it's left side or right side. So that's kind of where our starting DBs are looking like to begin with. What do we think about that? Is there a right or wrong? Is there a just right? Like, what do y'all think about the starting lineup?
Hey, man. I wasn't gonna say it, but I
ain't even see that.
But yeah, I think, like I said on the last show, I think everything is open for competition. You know, there's very few positions within this team where you can truly say those guys are locked. Like Jaden Daniels a lock. Sam Cosmi is a lock at right guard. Payne and Allen are locks at D tackle. Everything, Bobby Wagner is a lock at linebacker in Louisville. Outside of that, anything is open for business. So I think when you hear that guys are playing left tackle one day, right tackle, Jamon at defensive end alongside with a Jordan McGee is pass rushing. You're hearing about guys like Tyler Owens, the safety, getting more reps than Defoe or Percy Butler. You're hearing about combinations of St. Juste and Forbes and Michael Davis, St. Juste. Like, everybody's getting their own opportunities to truly compete for these positions. That's the blessing in this new regime, that everything is on the table. Like, everyone's getting they Fred Burns. I also should add Terry McLaurin to that mix as far as like a lot, as far as his number 1 wide receiver position. But everything is open for business.
Yeah, I mean, it's year 0 of a true rebuild. We haven't experienced a true rebuild here. It's been, I mean, even though Dan Quinn has been calling it a recalibration, but in a sense, it's a rebuild because everyone's new, from the players to the front office, even to the owner. So, you know, the competition you have to have, because nothing is really established except for a couple of guys you know can bring it. So everything else, you got to kind of see what you have. I mean, that's with every position, you know, the especially the offensive line. I mean, I love that they're rotating guys. I mean, it might sound a little bit kind of how Ron Rivera ran things in his whole position flex mantra, but this feels a little bit different in the sense that they're not doing this so they can say, oh, I want guys to play multiple positions. I believe they're doing this because they want to know who's good at what. And if we find out you're good here, this is where we're going to put you here. It's not one of those situations where I think they're just trying out different things and they hope to be able to play this guy at this position one day. No, I really believe they're really trying to see what these players' strengths and weaknesses are at this point. And Candi alluded to that in a lot of her comments, and that they are trying to get the best out of these guys, and they're not trying to fit square pegs into round holes. And that's what they're doing. So I don't know know where Brandon Coleman or guys like that is going to end up at, but what they're doing is they're trying to see what they're really good at. Because if they're weak at something, you don't want to put that guy out there something he's weak at. I've been kind of listening to John Kime a lot this week, and he's been mentioning a guy that was drafted last year, and Jaden Daniels. And Jaden Daniels, when he was drafted last year, he was one of those guys that Ron Rivera talked about position flex. He's a guy that can play tackle and guard. But Kime and a lot of other people that I know, they all say that Jaden Daniels can't play tackle. He's just not good at that, so he plays guard. Well, that's where he should be slotted at. So that's where, that's the kind of stuff that this coaching staff is leaning on, and they're trying to find out. And they're going to put these guys in the positions that they believe these guys are going to help this team best, versus let's fit this guy here just because we want to fit this guy here. And he plays a similar position. Maybe he could play this position. I think that's how the past regime ran things, but I do see it going a little bit different this time. And I love the competition aspect at all of these positions, especially where guys aren't solidified at. It just brings that extra juice, that extra edge to these guys. Start changing the culture of these guys. I mean, even what you all mentioning the story about Mike Sainristil running Brian Robinson down, and that may not have happened in previous years, or no, maybe Brian Robinson was doing something he has done in previous years. The culture has to change everywhere. And I think it starts with having this competition at all of these different positions and making guys more hungry and changing guys' mindset. So I love the fact that this is what they're doing and how they're running things. And I see the vision in it.
Brandon Coleman, seeing reps as the starting, I mentioned, we kind of mentioned this already, starting left tackle and starting right tackle. Thoughts on that? I'll start with this one first and get y'all the floor because y'all know that's my boy. I'm not surprised. I would say this 1,000 times. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if he does end up being a starter. Now, what I did anticipate, admittedly, was him being on the right side. He's seen less than 20 snaps in his entire collegiate career on the right side of the offensive line, period. So that was kind of surprising to me. He's seen, obviously, snaps at left tackle and left guard, but on the right side altogether, he hasn't seen that much time. So him being out there on the right side is surprising. But I think one of the conversations that he had with Linnell Willingham, our boy, Nell, he mentioned that every offseason, since going back to TCU, he would take off-season practice reps, like training reps, at every position on the offensive line except center. So he has some familiarity with the right side. It's something that we just haven't seen in a game before. And that's new to us as the fans, like understanding what he's been doing in practice. So that's good news for me. That's encouraging to hear that there is a way that he may be on the field. But I think personally, if you can use your swing tackle that you've previously used in Cornelius Lucas to play on the right side of the offensive line, and use your left tackle or use your rookie offensive lineman who is primarily played on the left side of the offensive line at your left tackle position. If it does turn out to be that Andrew Riley isn't best fit at right tackle, I think that's kind of the route that you should go. I think that Brandon Coleman is a person who had starting traits from day one. I broke that down for those who are just tapping in the Trapper Dive and didn't see the offseason coverage. If you want to go to the film sessions, I broke Brandon Coleman down in terms of his starting traits. It kind of shows you exactly what they've been a fan of so far in practice. So Brandon Coleman seeing reps at starting offensive tackle on both sides of the ball. On both sides of the offensive line. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think just try to get your best athletic offensive lineman out there. I knew that Coleman had took some reps at left guard. I didn't know anything necessarily about right tackle, but I think if you can, have Brandon start off at right tackle and Lucas at left, I'm just trying to put the best athletic tackles out there, even if they're not as great in their technique. If they have the ability with their footwork and athleticism to recover, that should help. I don't really know what happens with Andrew Wiley. He's getting paid a good bit of money. Maybe they say F the money, you gotta sit on the bench, or maybe they try to plug him in somewhere else. But I just want the most athletic guys playing that tackle position to start week one and the rest of the season. So if that's Brandon Coleman playing right tackle and Lucas at left, I'm cool with it. If that's Coleman at left tackle and Trent Scott or Cornelius Lucas at right tackle, I'm cool with it. I don't necessarily want Andrew Wiley starting at right tackle, but we'll see what happens. I think Brandon Coleman has to immediately play and be impactful in whatever he plays, left or right.
Yeah, I think this is actually a good thing again, because them playing him all over, or at least on the left and the right side, is saying we want this guy on the field, regardless. And I also think this may be an indicator that they also like what they see out of Cornelius Lucas as well. If they're trying out Brandon Coleman, the guy that they drafted, who, as you alluded to, Mual, that he's played primarily left side his whole college career. He comes in and now they're trying this guy on the left and the right side. Initially, we thought he'd be in competition for that, just the left tackle spot alone, at least. Or if he wasn't going to fit a left tackle, they were going to slide him into guard. So at least from this is my perspective. Now, I could be wrong, but I take this as they like what they see out of this guy at tackle, but they also like what they're seeing out of Cornelius Lucas, but they don't want to see Brandon Coleman off the field at this point. So I think they're looking for ways to keep Brandon Coleman on the field, whether that's at left or right tackle. Ideally, we all hope that it's at the left tackle spot because that's the bookend position. And if you lock down that spot, you're good for about 10 years. And you'll also have Jaden Daniels security blanket there. But it's very encouraging news that they are trying them at both spots. That means they like what they see. They want to keep this kid on the field some kind of way. I don't know what it necessarily means for Andrew Wiley. I don't know if they've already seen something where they're like, man, I don't know if this guy is going to be a starter.
For the record, he's been hurt the last couple days.
Tightness.
I think it was something like that.
Yeah. Right, that's what I heard as well. But then there was also the day I could be wrong, but it was Sunday Mual. You might be able to tell me a little bit better. But there was reports that Andrew Wiley wasn't practicing, but he was practicing. But however, Coleman was still getting those reps at right tackle.
Yeah,
Coleman was still getting reps at right tackle even when Andrew Wiley was not hurt. So that's, to me, that's why I said I'm not sure what this means for Andrew Wiley as far as is he impressing the coaching staff enough at this point, or is it just simply that Coleman is so good right now, we got to get this guy on the field somewhere? But ultimately, obviously, I hope he ends up at left tackle because that's the most important position on that offensive line. But it's encouraging to hear the news coming out of the camp from Brandon Coleman.
What am I missing? Kaz Allen name has stood out. That was another person that Dan Quinn mentioned. Kaz Allen and Mike Sainristil. Those are the two returners that stood out for Quinn. I don't know. I guess we have a yes or no question with this one. Kaz Allen, does it take just a returner ability for him to make the roster, or does he have to do more?
He has to do more. For me, I'm just going to say, he has to do more. And I'm also, because I had a couple people out at training camp over the weekend, and they actually noted that Kaz Allen was getting a lot of looks on offense. So that tells me that they like enough what they see on special teams. And I think they already seen the fact that this kid has some explosive ability and they want to get the ball in his hands some kind of way. So if he could find a way to stick and do something on the offensive end, he might end up being a lock to make this roster, because what kept him off of the roster last year, and I thought he could have made the roster last year, was those drops. And he had a fumble, I believe, in preseason on a special teams play. So, you can't do that. That's a no-no. But the explosive ability is there for Kaz Allen enough to impress coaches if he can hold on to the rock. But he definitely has to do more on offense to solidify a roster spot on this team.
You don't follow no rules, bro.
Yeah, I think he has to do a bit more. But I believe that he could also help solidify his position on his team by being a third down running back, in a sense. He could be used as an Austin Eckler type receiving back, just how he was utilized in college at UCLA. He played a lot of snaps in the backfield. So he could be a threat, in the passing game there. He's not going to come in and block. He's not going to be a third down running back to block. But if he can come out the backfield, even be motioned into the slot, whatever, I think he's the most comparable skill set wise to an Austin Eckler that they have on the roster. Yeah, because even if we got into like the projections and stuff, I'm not sure Chris Rodriguez necessarily makes his team.
Yeah, we'll save that for another day because I think he makes the team. But there is somebody that I do want to shout out since we're going to talk about running backs. Jeremy McNichols, he stood out with his athletic ability on Sunday. That was actually some juice that I didn't see from.
In what way? Was it the shiftiness or was he catching passes out of the backfield?
Shiftiness. He had some lateral movements that was quite impressive in tight space. So I just giving him a nod. Wasn't like over to be overzealous about, but it was something that caught my eye. Okay. All right. That's gonna wrap it up for us right now. That was a good show, man. Shout out to Candi. The fellas, we did our thing from the outside looking in. And we will be back next Tuesday. I guess we can do our preseason schedule now since next week will be I'll reiterate it next Tuesday as well, but we'll be live immediately after the preseason games on Saturday and Sunday. No, it's 2 Saturdays in a row, right? Yeah. The 2 Saturdays of the first 2 preseason games will be live right after the games. So you can catch us twice a week. Next week and the following week we'll be back again twice a week to recap the Commander stuff. All 32 will be back on Thursday. And then I got a new segment I'm going to try and implement starting this week. So starting tomorrow, y'all let me know how it is. I'm going to be asking for feedback. It's going to be on podcast as well. You can let me know whether it's DM, Twitter, whatever, or you can just wait till the next show. Let me know how it was. I'm experimenting here, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Jersey, I keep saying it and I mean it. I'm just waiting a little bit, but the jersey giveaway is going to be happening within a week. So just stay tuned on that. Jaden Daniels jersey giveaway, all that good stuff. Fellas, man, until we meet and get on them sticks, man. Till we meet and get on them sticks, man.
I'm on tonight.
I'll be on late tonight. Yeah.
About to get some dinner. I don't even know what time it is. Probably watch that Hard Knocks.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, so you probably be around 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
10,
I'm
15,
on.
like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Say no more, man.
Try this new playbook type shit.
Yeah, don't get smoked with that new playbook, bro. Yeah. All right. Oh yeah, no bull. That's a good question. You may have to pay for shipping, but you're getting a free jersey out too. Come on, you work with me. Nah, I'm about to say we gotta work it out with the international.
You're not gonna win just because of that alone.
All right, we up out of here, man. Y'all take it easy, all that good stuff. Appreciate everybody tuned in.
Ain't nobody about to ship no $60 pay no $60.